Hello, Tanny and Barbara Ward. I assume you had a good 4th of July. It was noisy everywhere around us. And perhaps you were able to have a little more peace. I came across something in DK's book 2 for the discipleship. And I thought I'd throw it out there, see if you all want to talk about it. In the statement, as a man thinketh in his heart, so does he then create a state like the man of Christ. And there's a whole few pages talking about the soul and the heart and right eye and the third eye. One eye thinks, one eye contemplates and shares the experience of what it's about. And it just touched me, and I'm going to go back and read more about it. But let me repeat that. As a man thinketh in his heart, so does he then hold a state much like Christ. I'm not sure if we've ever thought about thinking in the heart. I'm sure we might do it at certain times. Maybe our word more for it is perception. You know, when you're doing a healing, there's many perceptions and how to stand back and look and see things, just like what I'm doing here with this now. But that's why I think DK is such a great teacher, is he's really covered everything. So does anybody have, let me get this off of here, any thought about that? And hello, Marianne. We live from the heart. But what about, Tanny, all the people who aren't? They're living in their head. Personality. Tragedy so difficult they can't go live in them. And that's why it's about healing and being on your path and transforming all these things. But think about one eye sees the truth on a soul level, and the other eye has the personality telling it how to perceive. So, Marianne, what do you think of that theory? Because you studied with a very powerful being in Benjamin Crane. Have you had that discussion with him at all in that way to see the movement as things happen and come into your consciousness? It says that it comes in through the mind and the third eye. And the two eyes separate what it is and takes it into the heart. Tanny says he knows that we have talked about it. Yes, it must be. Here's Paul. Excellent. Well, I'm trying to bring up some intriguing things because people seem to wonder, why do I need to learn? Well, there's so much we, as we just come here as a person, we don't know. For instance, how many know that Sanat Kumara is somewhere helping, which he helped our planet. They actually have a statue of him in Japan where he landed with the 144,000 beings that were called to help heal here. And now he's on a different planet but he's not working at them the same way. He's working with them more, as I'm saying, helping them to have a diversity in perception without having to wait 40 years to understand that, you see. So, having studied and learned about a lot of things is what really helps you become more whole. Probably we could reach to a lot of people who come to these channels that have no idea what wholeness means to them. Very fascinating. Like, who are you? Well, until you understand the brain and how that functions and thought. For instance, where do your thoughts go? Are they in your brain? Do they go into your heart? And if you think about a thought, I love myself. When you take that moment and with impression, take that down into your heart, what is the feeling? Sweetness, a gentleness. But I can almost guarantee that you all don't do that with every thought. You know, some of us go, blah, 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 and we're trying to let it get away. Yeah. Because we wonder why the world is the way it is, and that's exactly why. In this golden age that is on the cusp of occurring, we have to change how we do this and become more of a participant in the loving, not only of ourselves, but understand that every time we get to where we can say, I love myself, we love all men. Just think that thought for a moment. As I love myself, we gain an understanding of what it is to be the human being that we are. Then we can choose to love all people because they all have that choice to love themselves in their heart or to treat them as if they aren't capable of that yet and reach out and not love men, which is, I think, the huge plague that's happening now, because it's time. It's time for the holiness that we all carry to come alive. And to do so gives us an understanding that we have to become awake to what thought is doing. One thing we know, every one of us thinks every day, the moment we wake up. Now, what if instead it became like a meditation? Well, let me read here what Barbara Ward has such good things to say. I had a book that was called As a Man Thinketh his art, so he is. My interpretation was if we have good intentions like love, etc., actions will reflect that. Conversely, bad intentions create. That's exactly what I'm saying. So how are we, as we're beginning to have these actions on our own, help the world? Well, by doing it, it becomes something, it gets caught. Everybody starts to do it. How many times do you think when we're out at the grocery or at the store and we're smiling and we're happy that people might think, wow, it must be wonderful to feel that way. And they find themselves doing the same thing. So, yeah, so for the rest of the day today, what if you could start and think, I love myself, and have it respond to tell you why? Let's see let's just call it in for each of us. And let's see what our right eye is going to show us why. I love myself. Now, see what comes to you. Anything coming to anybody? I love myself. What does that have either your consciousness start to think about, or what is the feeling? Which is it? For myself, it says to me, I'm a gentle, loving soul. There's that other word we mentioned, the soul. And for a long time, like someone said, they think all that comes from the mind. Well, it doesn't. The soul lies deep in within the heart. Yes, Anik, you're right. But you have to get to the soul and have that perception come when the thoughts come into the my mind's going. Shoot, I can't think of it. Into the third eye energy, and then take it down into the soul and see what the soul does with it. If you remember, I told you it was a long time I was looking, what is the soul? And really, it wasn't written about or talked about anywhere. Well, the soul is the evolved part of you. What do you think about that? It's the part of you that takes information and transforms it into a light perception, loving perception. Let's see what Tandy has to say. Earlier today, I went and got a haircut and a shave, and I thought I need to look after myself, love myself. Congratulations, because we all need to have that truth in whatever way it is. Do you need to have a couple hours rest? Then take them. Do you need to meditate to calm? Then do it. You need to eat healthy. We live in a physical form. That's why we need to be aware of what we're eating and how we're treating ourselves. That all will come in to happiness. It's very interesting to me how some people that I work with, here's a message from Paul. It draws the internal focus of release and ease to allow myself to be cradled within the Creator's love that is our essence. And the more we become aware of the soul and its capacity of all the love it holds, the more happier and peace and friendly we're going to be to everyone. So Marianne says, being at one with God, the reminder that my life has value and I'm here to bring that forward via the soul energy, and that where rays come in of what, that forward via soul energy, and that where rays come in what we're comprised of. Okay. Yes, but we need to deal with this reality by seeing it through the eyes of love and not in the eyes of pain or fear or anguish. Mostly right now in the world, everyone's afraid. The question is, why don't we love ourselves? We seem to have subconscious beliefs that cause the feelings of oh, that's what I do. That's what a healer does. We're about healing the subconscious, which is patterns from eons ago and from lives you can't even remember now. So that's why it is so important to clean out the office inside so that you can, let's say if you have 144,000 patterns, which everybody has when they begin, and you get down to 20 of them, you're going to be a pretty cool person. You will have probably reached enlightenment and ascension and doing very high work from an ascended state. It's the whole idea. So, and it's not always easy to do that. There's so many ways to do that. There's so many ways, even here on YouTube, that you're offered to do that. But I want you to try to think of the thinking part. How you think of things is normally how you bring them into reality, and that you can have control of. Now, if you find you don't, that's when you go and you need to clear a pattern to set it free, because it's just sat there and whirled and whirled and whirled. You know, like you can say, oh, wow, this has just happened to me so many times. Then you get a healing and out it goes, and you're set free and life changes. It does. It really does. So, yeah, right eye, third eye, how do you thinketh? And the soul that goes down, and it's inside the heart. It's an inner piece of the heart that has the capacity to be true love. For sure. You know, my husband and I were one of that 144,000 people that came with Sanat Kumara. And when we're in a group, we're very much that people who have third eye vision and see us, they see a huge light around the two of us. It's not yet where we're recognizable always here in this world because, like I said, there's so much fear. But Sanat Kumara isn't going to just come to everybody. He comes to those whom he knows is working on the discovery and the release of personality and being the loving person that we all have the capacity to be. And if we're getting too deep, I'm sorry. It was just what I was shown to talk about today. In our world, where we're on the earth that we live, there are judgments and criticisms that we're afraid of having people have about us. What if that didn't exist? What if we just loved and embraced people? Which would almost tell them that they have permission to let of all that go. Wouldn't that be wonderful? An indigenous shaman said that they identify with the oneness of all, but for us, that unworthiness often stems from being thrown out from the Garden of Eden, so that coding has to be removed. I agree, and there are so many. And that's why there are so many of us working on getting through that. Here on Earth is the university, you know. It's a classroom. It's really nothing else but for us to grow and to get healing done. You know, when I go up to the beings who are above heaven, they're the purest that there are, because they don't have to come back. A lot of people keep coming back to try to hit on where that pattern is in what life so that they can clear it. Let's see what Paul adds. Move from our divine sovereignty, honoring the sovereignty of the divine gaze across from us. Wouldn't that be wonderful? You know, wouldn't it be wonderful? But we all carry that karma, however much we have with us. We carry that uncertainty with the vision through our eyes. The more we grow, the more we do, the more we go, oh, that just doesn't sound right. And we go in and scoop up some of the love and the soul, and we release ourselves. Animals, yes, they're the same. I remember in Thailand when we got to talk to a little Buddha, he says, you see that tree over there? I was a goat. I got picked up as a goat, thrown against that tree so I could be in my mother's belly. Now, we all looked at him because not what we've been told, that we don't reincarnate from animals. Well, here is a Buddha. He was 8, but he did know how he got there. And how powerful is that? So, interestingly enough, he was very, very clear, even at 8. And I had spoken to my teacher a few years later, and he had fell off a motorcycle and lost his left foot. Now, let's think about that. Here's this Buddha that everything probably at one point was perfect, but then he began to be in the words and the thinking of humanity. And there, it's a little bit lower frequency on some levels than here. And what it drew him to was something that made him have to lose his foot and contemplate it. Why do things happen? And I'm not telling you this out of fear. It's because you would need to have a situation to think about and bring it inside so that you can love it, embrace it, not be afraid of it, and go forward. So it's like an awakening. That's why it's called awakening, that you need to experience every moment, everything you do, everywhere you move, because it's the truth. Enlightenment is understanding the truth is alive. So let me see where I'm at here. Paul, move from our divine sovereignty. Oh, I said that one. Tiani, we deal with karma until we wake and then find peace. That's true. Have any of you ever read the 5 books of the Emil is the one that talks in it. He teaches you how to walk through the fire and to cleanse the body. It's very powerful. They're in a packet. It's 5 books. Today, my brain's not working fast enough to give you the name of it, but I'll do it here tomorrow. But see, I held class on Saturday. What we do on Saturday, we talked about working with the water moving through everyone to cleanse and the rainbow. Now, let me just tell you why that was powerful. It's about 6:30. I can show you the picture if you want to see it. A huge rainbow out back. Coincidence? I don't think so. And 2 days earlier, I had one. I think I did show you. But this was a rainbow that arched. And what does the teaching say? The rainbow goes down below where we live and all the way around the earth. Think about that. all the way around, and it heals these dark patterns. It's going to be so exciting to see what occurs. This was in healing school. Good morning, Lauren. Glad you can make it. But I guess I'm trying to help you see there's so much to learn. And it's a wonderful thing to be willing to touch it and transform yourself. How do you want to use the mind to think or the eyes to see? Because that's what's creating inside your heart. Well, we're sorry it didn't work for you. You can always come back and listen to it later. Okay, you see? We want to be a part of the consciousness here on earth to support shift, to support change, to choose to live differently, to choose a rainbow. That rainbow goes all the way around. And what does it heal? The darkest issues. Think about that. What does the water do? Heals the darkest issues. So it's going to be interesting to see what comes of this next month with these people in class who now have this energy that they're welding to have a perception when they do healing to see what is going on and why. And I'm hoping I make sense, because today I got this all from the Discipleship 2. You can see how much I study in this book. I meet people, you all meet people that think they're something that they're not. But let's think about that thought. That's called denial. Or it's called ego, which is the personality. So we have to love them. We have to stop talking about them. Being angered about it, let's be honest, and just love them so that they can begin to feel what love really is. Yeah. What love really is. Douglas and I don't go many places out and about. We always have our protection up, but once you get to a certain point, you don't want to have all that yuck that people live in coming at you. And there's times people lock in our eyes and think, ooh, who are you people? That's okay. We know who we are. But wonderful. The rainbow is very healing right now for everyone. This one, let me see if you can see it, was from one side of the lake to the other. Oh, give me a minute. You saw the ducks. See, there's the first one the other day. See it? It was like iridescent. And here's the one. Let me see if he got it from side to side. I guess not. But this one went up and over to the other side. So we saw the whole half of a rainbow. I don't know what that is. So it's happening. I don't want you sitting at home wondering, is this real? It is real. It is happening. We're getting the opportunity to learn more about true aliveness and being present and conscious in our world. Good morning, Heather Houston. Let's see what Barbara Ward says now. Religion also has a lot to do with our feelings of unworthiness. E.g., in sin, did my mother conceive me affects the divine feminine and even our sexuality as women. Yes, you know, I love church. I was raised a Methodist. But God's in my heart now. It's not that I have a church to define it. I have God and Mother and Christ. And I remember when we used to live in New Jersey, I'd go for a walk and they'd all three start walking with me every day. I mean, how more wonderful can that be? The night they gave me my ascension, we were getting ready to go up into my home, and we saw there was a turquoise comet. And I was told that night it was to let me know that it was true. All these things, if you ask, you will be shown. And like when I go into church, I just cry. Not because of what there is there at the church. It's all the prayers of everyone. Have you ever thought of that? All the prayers are within those walls, are in that atmosphere of those thoughts. So, a whole lot of different ways to think of things. But the main thing here that we're doing is trying to be in peace, harmony, and love. What is love? You can maybe write about it. You might be able to write a book about it, each of us, if we did, because I guarantee you it's different for all of us. How we began, how we've grown up, and even where we are in this moment. But that's the great wonderment about it. Love has the capacity to always be with you no matter where you are. And that's the beauty of it. So, do I have people still left? Yep. Same number, 10. So, I'm thinking about having a class with DK to start to teach you some of these things that maybe you haven't done in another way. And I understand that money's tight, but I do believe things are going to change shortly. But we'll see what comes out when I go to work with it. The other one I want to do is, I think someone here brought it up, is for me to have Mary Magdalene, Isis, and Divine Mother all together in a class about femininity. And yes, so I'm very aligned to those three, and they would like to have a voice. And that's the reason Metatron came, is God sent him to me for my voice. So, do they urge you? Yes. When you've done the work and you have clarity, they need whoever they can to help support them, to guide people down a proper path, you see. So, Heather, you haven't spoken much today. Do you have any questions in your mind you would like to ask? Why, we're getting late. A little bit. Or are any of the girls who came in for messages the other day out there but just listening? Everybody needs to not be afraid to come and show themselves. We're just people. We are just people. There is when you can begin to understand there's nothing that you could say that could be wrong. Here she is. I'm just basking in the frequencies, not much to say. That's all right. But we all have a purpose. We all have a wonderful voice. Yes. More so than whatever you can imagine. And I don't have a problem telling you all that because I understand mine. And we are made in the action of God. Each of us. So, I hope you enjoyed our Monday together. Tomorrow we'll do messages. But within me, a lot is changing of how I'm being shown that they would like for us to reach out to more people and to help people not be lost. And have you ever thought that you were a lost soul? Tiani, it. Yeah. You know, we even have the frequency machines for whenever you get ill. We've had God just continually drop things in our lap so that we could always see out beyond what everyone believed to know what was truth. There's always more. Barbie, blessings to you. Yeah, so we might become a little bit more investigative, and I'm going to make a couple times when I'm going to do something different for a little bit of money. Today you feel quite found. Wonderful. Until you find out there's more. Because what I've learned, there's always more. There's always a deeper realization, a greater sense of release, a truth that shines its light in a different way. I don't know if it'll ever end, and I'm not sure I want it to. But what I do want to do is to let you all know it's out there and available. Yes, there's always more. All right. Well, many blessings. You have a lot to think about today, but think about that thought becoming in your heart and how you could change or be a part of changing the world. Is that an ego thing? I think it's a God thing. You're very welcome. Goodbye. Have a great day.